All right, so here we're in the lab, as I call it, or the prep room, and we are like focusing here on this embalming table, which is basically just like a metal table that has a hole in it, so it could be easily cleaned off and stuff like that. And he's got some tools. So what's the one that you have in your hand called?
So this is the trocar, and I was kind of explaining the difference between arterial embalming and then how we embalm the intestines and so forth, the stuff that's not necessarily reached as well by the arterial system. So this is the big needle that gets poked in people's abdomens, and we use it both to suck out the fluid and shit that's in a body, and we also use it to pump in the cavity fluid, which is the strongest, the strong fluid that we have specifically designed for the cavities of the human body. So for the arterial embalming, we'd use, we place on the neck near the common carotid. This goes into the artery. We stick that little tube into the artery, and then this end gets hooked on a hose, which is connected to our embalming machine that pumps the embalming fluid into the body. And then most funeral directors will use a drainage tool such as this, and this would go into the jugular vein. And you can kind of control the drainage and the pressure, by pulling this out, and it also helps with clotting, because a lot of bodies clot with all the medication that gets put in them when they're hospitalized. So those are kind of the basic tools. This right here, when we make the puncture with the trocar, we use this little guy and screw it into that puncture to close that up.
All right, and can you explain to us what this is?
Yes.
So this is super cool. He explained this to me when we got here, and it's like vintage, so he'll tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah, so like I said, we used to go to houses like back at the turn of the century in the 1900s to embalm, and even into 1920s, 30s, and 40s we did that. But this is a gravity embalmer, so it's not a machine, it's not pumped by an engine. The higher you put this flask, which is filled with embalming fluid, the more pressure you get in the tube. And so you just continue, you raise that up to get more pressure, and it will eventually be enough to start pushing the blood through the arterial system and the embalming fluid in as replacement.
So that's super cool. So he, like a lot of people have these like vintage embalming tools or whatever, but it's so cool that it's like actually from his family. So I mean, like that's what's super cool about the family business aspect. And
it's fun eating cereal out of it. No.
Yeah, like you can use this as a Halloween decoration, like.
Right.
And real quick, what are these boxes that you pulled out here?
So these are old embalming fluid boxes. Embalming fluid used to come in little glass bottles, and different companies had their own creations just like today. And so this was Champion, and then I think this one's Eccles down here, which was an embalming school in Philly.
Oh, that's cool.
That no longer exists, but they would have arrived in cases like this. Now they just come in cardboard cases.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it is.
All right, well, thanks so much. This was like really awesome. I like, there's a sign on the wall over there that says check for pacemaker, so we already know about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, thanks guys. And I'll be doing also like a live Q&A after this if you have any additional questions. So, thank you.